Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a nifty new CD on Naxos from JoAnn Falletta and the Buffalo Philharmonic. Yes, they've done it again. They make really good records. They really do. They have a wonderful, wonderful run going, and they continue it with this disc of orchestral music by Foss, who was himself a Buffalo resident. He ran the orchestra for many years, quite successfully, and he was a very, very interesting composer. His dates were, 1922 to 2009, and he wrote a lot of music in various forms and in various styles. His style was quite eclectic. You know, there was atonal stuff and very traditional stuff and everything in between. But there was always a little bit of intermingling between all these different styles that was characteristic of the guy. And so his music always has something, I think that's very attention grabbing. I mean, I've heard quite a few pieces by him, and I find them all that they reward your attention. He never lets things go long enough to get droopy. He always does something interesting, and you hear that quite clearly here. These are lovely works. They come mostly from, I think, the 1940s. Well, I mean, 58. Let's see. Well, who am I saying? 58, 1985, 1944. There we go. 1944. Okay. So there's a range. And they all do things a little differently, but they're all entirely enjoyable. We begin with the Ode from 1944, revised 1958. I mean, the Ode sounds ode-like. A lot of his style is similar to someone like Benjamin Britten's in that it consists of ostinatos of various kinds. Ostinati is the plural. That is, little repeated rhythmic figures with stuff happening on top of them. You'll notice that considerably in ode because it's kind of like a passacaglia. That is, a bass line or a bass figure that repeats itself endlessly with other stuff happening on top. You know, odes tend to be serious, hymn-like, declamatory, and that's what this ode is. But it's exciting. It's wonderful to listen to. I mean, you can very clearly hear the argument in that repeated bass figure with the stuff on top, and it's about 10 minutes long, and it would make a great concert opener as it opens this, for example. Then we got the Renaissance Concerto, the Renaissance Concerto for flute and orchestra. Now, this has been recorded before. It was written for, I believe, Carol Winsense, the wonderful flutist, whose name I probably just mispronounced. And it's delicious. It's based on, some Renaissance and early Baroque music. I mean, there's Monteverdi is in here and Rameau. I mean, it's not really Renaissance. But it begins with an entrada, which is a very virtuosic flute cadenza. And then we have the Baroque interlude with harpsichord tinkling along after Rameau's keyboard piece, the enharmonic keyboard piece, les enharmoniques, whatever it's called, which actually is a wonderful piece to do if you're going to be a contemporary composer because it involves all kinds of very interesting, key changes and harmonic sleights of hand, which Foss takes full advantage of. The flute part has some advanced techniques. There's some flutter tonguing and note pitch bending here and there, and it's very interesting, but always enjoyably listenable. Then there's the recitative after Monteverdi, and that's quite Monteverdi-ish. It's from Orfeo, by the way. And finally, Jouissance, ha-ha! The zippy finale, which, in spite of its zippitude, actually ends rather quietly and wistfully and sweetly. It's beautifully written for the instrument. It really ought to be standard flute repertoire everywhere. It probably won't be because it's not as if we have tons of great flute concertos, is it? This would make a wonderful addition to any program that needs a big flute concerto. It's 20 some odd minutes long. I mean, for a flute concerto, the universe of flute concertos, that's a big concerto. Because any instrument that requires breathing, can only last so long before the soloist passes out. I mean, that's sort of the way it happens if it's a concerto. So there you go. It's beautifully played by Amy Porter, flute, who really knows what she's doing. And next we have the three American pieces, which were orchestrated in 1989. They were originally for violin and piano, and they exist in versions for violin and flute and who knows what else, left-handed trombone or whatever. Anyway, they begin, we have Early Song, which sounds kind of morning-ish, then gets quite peppy. The dedication is the central movement. The third movement is Composer's Holiday. It's only 2 minutes and 58 seconds of crazy festivity, and it's played to a fare thee well by Nikki Chooi, violin. Yeah, she's very, very good as well. And it's a lovely work, a lovely piece of Americana, if you like, the Three New England Sketches or The Incredible Flutist, or, some of those short Americanish triptych type thingies, then you're going to like this. Or things like Ernest Bloch's, Bal Shem, or, those little portrait solo things for string and orchestra, then you're going to like this. It's just a delightful jeu d'esprit. And finally, we have Symphony No. 1, which is a big work, good half an hour and 4 juicy movements. And it's very interestingly structured because the movements get bigger as they go, basically. Or let me put it to you this way. You have an opening andante and sort of allegretto, which is rather light and transparent and attractive. Then an adagio, and then a scherzo, which is very, very well developed. It's marked vivace. And then a big long finale, andantino and allegro. And the big long finale is very exciting and powerful music. And actually, you'd think because it's the longest movement that maybe it sort of drones on as, finales tend to when they're the longest movement, but it doesn't. In fact, the ending is quite abrupt. You kind of want more. It's a recognizably American piece. It has those open Copland-esque sonorities. And if you like Copland, you're going to like this first symphony. It's quite, in that almost, American populist style. But again, it's not cheap, and it's not, it's not music that if you feel it's being dumbed down or something. It's nothing like that. It's not socialist realist. I mean, in a bad sense anyway. It's just a good, solid, piece of symphonic writing in that 1940s American popular style. And there is nothing wrong with that. As far as I'm concerned, we don't have enough of that music. So here we go. I am praying that this becomes a Lucas Foss symphony cycle, pairing symphonies with other orchestral works that are less known, because he deserves the attention. It would be wonderful to have a chance to really evaluate his achievement. And JoAnn Falletta and the Buffalo Philharmonic are just the people to do it. So keep your fingers crossed. Here's hoping. In the meantime, grab this and enjoy it. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.